What are the best PS5 games of the year so far? Well, let's find out. Hello everyone, it's Aaron here from Push Square with the first of our Game of the Year video for 2025. The script here is that the Push Square team work up a top 10 list every quarter to see how that list changes and evolves across the year. Maybe we were really impressed by a game today, but come December, we've kind of forgotten about it. As the earliest of the bunch, this is probably the most rogue the list ever gets, so strap in as we break down our top 10 games of 2025 so far. Gacha games are a dime a dozen on the PS5 these days, but Wuthering Waves does genuinely deserve a look in. Yes, it's filled with proper nouns, system upon system, and some eye-watering microtransaction fees, but there's a genuinely stunning open world here, populated with plenty of points of interest. Underpinning all of this is a flamboyant combat system which revolves around team composition. While this may give you flashbacks to Genshin Impact, it makes Hoyoverse's sandbox look ancient from a gameplay perspective, with ridiculously varied playstyles and some very responsive controls. Throw in the whole Echoes system, which sees you absorbing characters you find out on the field and adding them to your arsenal in a light Pokemon style touch, and you've got one of the unlikelier PS5 must-plays of 2025 thus far. Suikoden 1 and 2 are right up there with the most classic of classic RPGs, and so the fact that they have finally been given remasters, borderline remakes if we're being honest, is cause for celebration. Although some tedious PS1 era design does still creep in here or there, it's still clear to see why these titles helped define a genre all those years ago. Suikoden's characters retain their appeal decades later, and with so many of them to recruit, especially across both games, the storytelling remains surprisingly fresh throughout. These were impressively ambitious adventures when they first released, and they're still a joy to experience today. Ender Magnolia Bloom in the Mist takes our number 8 spot. This is a 2.5D side-scrolling RPG set in a dark fantasy world. You'll explore abandoned cities, colossal factories, horrid labs, and more. Watching through the footage of Ender Magnolia, and you're really struck by its contrasting art style, which is dark and grim in ways that sort of remind me of Inside, but then it's filled with these beautiful pops of colour. Traversal and combat are also key elements to Ender Magnolia, with 30 skills earnable in the form of party abilities. There is this sentient machine race within the game's world called the Homunculi, who have been driven mad by some form of fume, so you'll face off against plenty of heavy mechanical bosses. Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vecta is an ideal sequel. It holds true to the tabletop-inspired RPG sensibilities of the original, but builds on them in smart and engaging ways. The scope is broadened from exploring a single space station to hopping between many locations as you try to outrun a sinister pursuer. Each day you roll 5 dice, and these determine how good or bad your skill checks will be as you search for supplies and meet new characters. With a well-written story that leads you through a solemn sci-fi universe, meaningful decision making, and much more varied objectives and missions, this is a fantastic follow-up to Citizen Sleeper, and I have to say, it is gorgeous to look at. The art design here is off the charts. The dismal Dynasty Warriors 9 may have all but buried Koei Tecmo's once proud franchise, but that makes Dynasty Warriors Origins' success even sweeter. By adopting a structure that's more akin to an action RPG, complete with a silent, all-powerful protagonist, Origins strikes the best gameplay balance of any modern Warriors title. It goes all in on jaw-dropping battles that boast hundreds of on-screen enemies, delivering the kind of scope and scale that the series has always strived to portray. But at the same time, it provides a more in-depth, character-driven take on the early Three Kingdoms story, resulting in a frankly fantastic hack-and-slash romp. Atomfall is the first new IP from Rebellion in years. It's an open-zoned investigative adventure where you wake up inside a quarantined Lake District in northern England in the 1960s. It's set 5 years after the very real Windscale disaster, but of course in an alternate history which is filled with infected and giant patrolling robots. The special sauce of this release is its willingness to let you go with the flow, with a lead system instead of your traditional questlog system. This encourages you to dynamically and organically discover things out in its world and piece together its various mysteries. Then of course it has that signature British charm to it, with a quaint village, rolling hills and all the iconography of the English countryside. It's one of Rebellion's biggest games, but also a tightly packed offering that can be wrapped up in 10 to 20 hours depending on how into it you want to get. It's a lot of fun. The Assassin's Creed series finally went to the setting that we have all been asking for, and you know what? It was better than we expected. Assassin's Creed Shadow's take on feudal Japan was immersive, beautiful, and far improved over previous RPG iterations in the series. It has a far more premium feel to it, with top-of-the-line graphics, impeccable animation, and far more satisfying combat. But on top of all that, you have a far more engrossing narrative with truly cinematics and a much more engaging tale with its dual protagonists Yasuke and Naoe. The two playable characters are so different to play as, with Yasuke smashing through doors and sending enemies flying with hefty kicks. Naoe though is really special to play as, with slick, stealth-based combat which actually utilises shadows to remain hidden in the darkness of night. If you've liked the previous RPG entries in the series like Origins, Odyssey or Valhalla, then this is the best of the lot. Monster Hunter Wilds is next up, an expansive and arguably more approachable entry in this long-running series. Taking to the Forbidden Lands, one of the coolest things about Wilds that I don't think was properly advertised enough is that its various biomes change drastically depending on their season. A dusty desert can suddenly become a lush expanse with plentiful greenery. But of course, you're really there for the big monster fights, and Wilds has them in abundance. It's got a plethora of unique weapons, each of which can drastically mix up how you approach combat. They're all upgradable, and then of course you have plenty of tools and traps to deploy too. Combat can be incredibly complex if you want to really get into it like that. The designs and the animations on each of the monsters too are so unique and impressive. You really do feel like you're a part of an epic battle to the death with these creatures. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was a real surprise. Now the first game is good, so we expected the second to be good, but in the way in which Warhorse Studio has improved just about every facet of this medieval survival experience is truly astounding. Its writing is top class, its cinematics are well directed and acted, and the thorough survival mechanics really do force you to pay attention to the game and its world. Granted, this will not be for everyone. It's a slower paced game with myriad systems that you have to utilise, but immersing yourself in this world is unlike anything else, especially considering it's actually a pretty normal world. There's no fantasy elements here, it's purely realistic. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 really does want you to soak up every little detail of its world. I mean, quite quickly I realised that maybe I shouldn't be taking the main roads because bandits could jump me and combat was incredibly difficult in those early hours. It really is in a league of its own when it comes to open world RPGs. In the number one spot we have Split Fiction, and let me tell you, I did not expect this game to be so high up. This is from Hazelight, the team behind games like Brothers, A Way Out and It Takes Two, strictly co-op experiences. In this game, a pair of writers fall into a simulation and must try to escape by traversing their own created worlds. One's a sci-fi writer, the other's fantasy, and there you have your mix-up of locales, and these are, gorgeous to look at, and they're also really cool to explore. Now, I like Hazelight games, I've enjoyed A Way Out and It Takes Two, but I never thought they were great. Lots of fun, but the pacing and the variety was a little bit weird for me in some of those games. But Split Fiction? is such a blast of a game. The pacing is breakneck. The worlds you explore, I just constantly wanted to see more of them. The writing can actually be really funny, especially when you dive into the game's side stories. The premise is home to a far more endearing tale, and the creativity on display across its whole campaign is unlike anything you'll likely play this year. It's so much fun and, quite simply put, the best co-op game on PS5, but also, for the purposes of this video, the best PS5 game of 2025 so far. Will Split Fiction hold the top spot after a few months of extra PS5 releases? Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and remember to subscribe so you don't miss our next Game of the Year so far video around June time. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I've been Aaron, and this has been Push Square.